This is my presentation at the ASU Symposium of the Center of Excellence. The title of my presentation is Integrated Water Resources Management, IWRM. I will start with an introduction and then shed some light on Egypt IWRM experience and the research and its relation to climate change and how to improve IWRM in Egypt and the needed research. I will end with concluding remarks. IWRM has several overlapping definitions. One of them is systematic process for a sustainable development, allocation, and monitoring of water source resources that are used for social, economic, and environmental purposes. But the evaluation of the IWRM implementation has four elements defined by the United Nations: creating enabling environment, strengthening institutions, developing management instruments, and allocating budget for finance development. The principles definition by UN in 1992 are: fresh water is finite and vulnerable. Development is based on a participatory approach. Women play a central part, and water is valuable for all competing uses. My presentation is extracted from a chapter written within the roadmap of research in Egypt, but I added certain slides outside the presentation, and it has this brown background. To shed some light of how we understand IWRM, I wanted to talk about water balance. This series of simple graphs that I wrote showed how we can present water balance for Egypt. The red color is for input and the other colors are for output. And then input is equal to output at 1997, which is 56.8 billion cubic meter per year. The 13.1 is the water released to the Mediterranean Sea. These are for agriculture, for municipal, and for other uses. It can get complicated when we consider return flow. Return flow from agriculture and other uses. And this water balance is 2010. Input is again equal to output, but the number is increased because of the needs and demand increases with time, and it's 80.4 billion cubic meter per year. This particular water balance is for the delta. Therefore, the amount of water going at Cairo is 42 instead of the 55.5, and it gives some details on the importance of reuse in Egypt, and it is done in 2016. This is another elaborate water balance for the year 2017, and it is divided into two parts. One part for the Nile and the other for the desert. You can see the return flow, and again we use the 55.5 according to the treaty, and the water to the sea has decreased. Now it becomes 9.5 billion cubic meter per year. But those water balance has to be modified because of the current water-related mega project in Egypt, and I am mentioning here agricultural drainage treatment in El-Hammam, Bahr el-Bakar, and El-Mahsama. These are a lot of flow. Mahsama is 7.5, Bahr el-Bakar 5.4, and El-Mahsama is 1 million cubic meter per day. The new delta, which is agricultural expansion to the west of the Nile Delta, and it is 2.2 million فدان. There are several aquaculture projects in Ghalioun, Fairuz, and the Diba Triangle, and a lot of municipal water diverted to the new cities, which are too many, but the most important so far is العاصمة الإدارية, العلمين, and New Mansoura. In addition to an extension of desalination plants, there are some under construction and some planned in Matruh, Suez, Alamein, and Port Said, and all these projects will change the water balance. In this slide, I introduce you to the water accounting, which is a more elaborate and intricate way of calculating input and output. And the Ministry of Water Resources and Irrigation have a water accounting unit, and they are working on recalculating different water balances using water accounting for the different governorates in Egypt. But to make things simple, I like you or all Egyptians to remember only two numbers: 114 billion cubic meter, which is the total demand, and 60 billion cubic meter per year, which is the total renewable supply. This makes a gap of 54 billion cubic per meter, and they are filled by water reuse, representing 20 billion cubic meter per year, and food import in the form of virtual water, 34 billion cubic meter per year. The irrigation and drainage system is intricate. This shows the delta with the irrigation canals, and this map shows the delta with the drainage canals. In addition, it shows the reuse pumping stations, which are the orange rectangular here, and two cities, Cairo and Alexandria. The problem here is that the administrative boundaries do not coincide with the drainage catchment or the irrigation catchment. And one good example is to take the governorate of Kafr al-Sheikh, and Kafr al-Sheikh is divided into smaller administrative areas, and these are the irrigation catchment areas. They are not overlapping, and this makes IWRM a bit intricate for the Nile Delta. We go back to the report now and talk about IWRM Egypt experience. Egypt adopted IWRM in 1990s, and they have plans and strategies listed here: National Water Resources Plan 2004-2017, the National Water Policy in 2017, and the National Water Resources Plan 2017-2037, and I put it in red because I was working in this project as a senior water resources planner. I spent about 4 to 5 years working on the National Water Resources Plan, and the last pending report is the National Water Resources Strategy for 2015. To manage water in Egypt, there is a hierarchy inside the Ministry of Water Resources and Irrigation. We have central directorates, we have undersecretary, رئيس إدارة مركزية, we have central department, we have sectors, we have general directorates, inspectorates, and districts. And to elaborate on this, I show here the map for the Branch Canal Water User Association in Egypt. And here we have 5 general directorates, 27 districts, and 1,200 branch canals. And the difference between the red circles and the blue circles means these are projects where Water user association districts are included in the projects, and the red circles, the water user association districts are not included. The IWMD, Integrated Water Management District, is a cohesive district unit comprising all irrigation practices, including irrigation, drainage, groundwater within one hydrological boundary, and the new sections with unique mandate have been formed under IWMD. And this is the hierarchy. At the top is the undersecretary, then there is general director, then there is IWMD officer, and these are this organization charts shows the hierarchy I talked about. What are the actions taken to implement IWRM? There is a lot of actions like legislative forum, human resources development, scientific research, decentralization, participatory management, baseline data, exchanging data, economic tools, media, international community communication, private sector, coordination amongst ministries, monitoring and evaluation, and feedback systems. The research in the field of IWRM in Egypt is similar to the actions presented in the previous two slides, where this research is done via pilot projects at different levels. They proposed Governorate Water Security Index, an important index to measure IWRM, and they are working on research to update water policies. And this section is devoted to the relation between IWRM and climate change according to the rules put for writing the different chapters in the roadmap. Climate change can be addressed through measures that will increase adaptation efforts. For example, we have to link the Nile Basin climate models with Egyptian water supply, salinity, food security, and socioeconomic aspects. And these connections are crucial for understanding how to plan for climate-induced future impacts, because Egypt is subject to a lot of impacts from climate change, like sea level rise, heat waves, and flash floods. Improving water management practice is a proper mean of adaptation to climate change, and this is a strong relation between IWRM and climate change. Improvement in Egypt, there are opportunities to improve IWRM by improving measurement of groundwater availability, decision support systems, integrating drought and saline tolerant crop varieties, using appropriate scale for IWRM, identifying the needs for coastal aquifer and estuary protection, and the use of non-conventional water, and mapping of land and crop suitability in light of water quality and quantity. In addition to the previous list, we have social, economic, and environmental elements, ownership of irrigation systems, computer-based systems, training, virtual water, investment, efficient metrics, financing approaches, political will, and awareness. Research needed, which is very connected to the improvement elements, has to do with water allocation, decision support system, economic value of water, water assessment management, water economics, reuse of drainage water, water accounting, remote sensing, modeling tools, climate change, non-conventional water, seawater intrusion, and desalination systems. What we have done is we defined IWRM and explained the experience of Egypt for implementation. And then we talked about the nature of the water resources systems in Egypt using some charts and maps. And then we revised the IWRM research in Egypt with emphasis on climate change. And the last two sections were about improvement and future research.